Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Silent Sequester podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah Goins, and I'm here with my three lovely co-hosts, Dylan, Chanel, and Sasha actually was unfortunately unavailable this episode, so we brought in Geneva. Hi, Geneva. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good, very tired, but we are all here at 11:30 in the morning to talk some
10:30 for me.
Trooper.
This was an episode. It felt like a little shorter than usual, which is fine, but there was still like a lot of stuff to cover. Before we start breaking it down, how did you all feel about it?
Oop.
It was a moment, quite a moment. I think that's all you really can say about it. I really want to hear what you guys have to say about it more than anything, though.
I'm just gonna say again, oop. Also, I think I was still reeling from the last episode, so I already came in like, okay, like this is fine, like, you know, let's go into this. I was already traumatized from the last one, and then I came into this one and I was like, just beat a horse while they're down, why don't you? Like it was a lot, and I'm really looking forward to unpacking it with y'all. What do you think, Geneva?
Yeah, I'd say that there were aspects of this episode that were good. I was very entertained for the first half, but then that's kind of when it started going downhill for me. The vote, I think, was like, I honestly, I actually liked how the vote went out, but seeing what happened after the vote is kind of where everything kind of just wasn't as great for me as a viewer, and especially considering who I was rooting for in the game.
100%. I totally agree with that.
Same.
I was like a little half on half on it. I feel like this further iterated what we said last time, which is I really feel like there's a lot of downtime that's needed within these episodes, because I mean, it's important to remember that this was all in the same day as the last episode, actually. So they almost immediately jumped into like the next round. So they didn't really have a lot of time to really like process what just happened. Like I think you saw a lot of people reacting still, like Billy, still reacting on, oh dang, like this person just turned on this person, yada yada yada. So there was a lot of scrambling going on and a lot of mixed emotions from people. I didn't hate the episode. You know, I thought the way people maneuvered was interesting. I just feel like results, but you know, we'll get into all that when we get to it.
Something that I saw I saw CJ from season 2 had said this, and I actually agreed with her. There were some things in the episode that definitely could have been cut out, like especially when it came to the battle match picks. Like there were some parts where people were droning on in the confessional and kind of repeating themselves and like talking in circles. A lot of those parts probably could have been cut out and left on the cutting room floor, and we still could have gotten an idea of what was going on. And that probably would have made it a little better, because that battle match portion was probably like half the episode, at least 30 minutes.
Yeah. It was a struggle to even watch, just because it was just like so agonizing to like sit there and see. Like, we'll get into it when we get there, because I have so much to say about how that went down, because it was kind of gross, but like there's so much that could have been cut out there. And then flipping back to not to Dylan, to Billy. Billy was literally exactly how I would be if all of that went down. Like literally her mood was my mood the entire time. Like I literally wrote it on my Twitter. I was like, Billy is my mood. like I'm like, this is me right now. So like I was like all for, I was like, you get him, girl, like whatever, but we could get more into that later.
Okay, so we're just gonna hop into this episode recap. So it began like usual, just recapping everything that happened last time, and it basically picks up showing what happened after the whole battle match with Muna and Spencer. During the picks, it was actually showing that Brendan was saying that he thinks that Spencer made a weak move, actually taking Muna instead of Jacob, who just told him to his face that he voted for him. And we just saw everyone's little thoughts with that. So we see Spencer, and he wins the competition, and he goes into the luxury row, and he doesn't win an LOS. So that's two people who haven't got it. Josh is the only one with an advantage right now. We actually get a small view into the jury house, and we see Katie, Jay West, and Muna. And it's kind of interesting to see how the jury's starting to feel so early in the game, because usually there's like a good half of the cast before the jury starts, but this season's so different because the jury starts so early. And we're hearing from basically all three of them that the consensus is like they're not really liking how there's people throwing votes around and floating. And it seems like this jury right now, I mean, it's like I said, it's so early still, but this jury is really leaning towards giving someone who's playing like active and hard the win, despite like a Hunter from last season. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I agree with them though. Like I think they have good points. Like it's like, what the heck is, so me watching it every week, it's like, what the heck is the point of playing so hard if the person I vote out in the end isn't even the person that's going to go home in the end? It seems like it's the constant battle. Also at the same time, it's just like like, why am I playing hard? Why am I making alliances? I'm just going to get, like, it doesn't matter because I'm not the person being dragged at all. And then the votes are being thrown. So even when I'm in allegiance with someone, they're just going to throw their vote on any random person. So what's the point of me campaigning for anyone? It may stick. It may stick, but it probably won't, because no one is actually voting the way they, even with the Natalie vote, the week when it was Natalie and Spencer, even Natalie threw her vote when she was in danger. So it's like, what? There's no strategic gameplay here. It's just like, I'm just going to throw it because I'm allied with everyone or whatever, right? So
I only believe in throwing votes when it's strategic. Like if you know for sure that someone is going to pull you into a battle match if you vote them, then throw your vote. But it's also like you need to throw your vote strategically. Don't throw your vote on just some random person, because then it's clear like, oh, you're just throwing a vote to get out of this. And then that's where, I mean, we kind of see that issue come to play later in the episode. So I think I do, like when I play in minis, I do throw votes, but I also make sure that I throw votes in a serious way. So like, for example, I played in like a private mini. It was Private Winners at War. I got threatened that I would be dragged if I like voted a person. So I voted the other person who was coming after me. And that person did not listen to the person who threatened us, and they voted them. So that person got dragged and I was safe. And they're like, wow, nice move. So I was like, I threw my vote strategically because I was getting targeted by that person. And I wasn't going to risk it. But I was also like, I'm not going to vote this other person out who's threatening me, because I don't want to go home because of that. And also I had pushed their name previously, so I knew they were getting votes on their name, and it didn't matter if I voted them.
And that was a smart move. Like, that's a smart way to throw your vote. And I agree with Chanel. I've always had a problem with the format of Sequester. I always liked the original, like the pre-merge format, or I guess pre-jury format, where, okay, you can vote somebody off and they're out the game, but now they have to pick two people for elimination. Because you can still like work it so you can get them out the game, but if you can trick them into being angry at different people, then you can get them out. Like I remember in season 2, it was the first episode, they had gotten DJ out, and then they had kind of pitted all of the blame onto Hamza and Jesse, who didn't even vote for DJ. And and what's really unfortunate about this season is that you see people like Shireen and Muna and Rachel and Billy like dominating the game. They've had control of the votes every single round, even in the first round, but they're being punished, but because they're getting pulled into these battle matches. And to be honest with you, I've been feeling a really misogynistic vibe when it's been coming to these battle match picks.
What? No, wait, Dylan.
Yeah.
Oh, news to me.
That's why like when we get to it, I really want to hear what Geneva and Chanel have to say, especially. But I feel like there's always been this weird vibe when it comes to the battle match picks of, oh, if I pick a female, it'll be easier for me to beat them. But these battle matches are never like advantageous specifically for a gender, like it would be on the challenge, which is split up based on gender. So and And going back to, I forgot which one of you had said, like, Spencer. Oh, I think Isaiah was talking about how Brendan was saying Spencer was like kind of pussying out by picking Muna. I think he was, because
100%. 100% he was.
Because the right move would have been picking Jacob, who just said, I basically backstabbed you, but okay, you're gonna go for Muna because what? Because you're taller than her, because she is a woman. What was the reason?
Yeah, he literally said, and you're Muna, and I'm like, but he's also Jacob Jones. Jacob has won 2 Sequester minis. Muna's won 1. So if anybody has a reputation, Jacob has a bigger reputation. And if he betrayed you, then you should get revenge on him and pull him into the battle match.
Period.
It's just, exactly. And Brendan laid it out. He's like, that was such a soft move on, I think he said something else. I don't remember what his exact words were, but he was basically like, that was a weak move. At the same time, here's my strategic brain working, because I actually have one, unlike Spencer. So here's my strategic brain working right here. Jacob, who's an ally to me, has voted against me. Okay, that's strike 1. Strike 2, when you talk about how Muna's like, I can never vote for Jacob, obviously he is working with Muna. Okay. And obviously when he voted for you, he picked Muna's side. So what does that tell you? That's the second betrayal. That's a strike 2 right there. So his whole, fool me once, blah, blah, blah. That literally should be for Jacob, not for Muna. Muna
and Muna's been transparent and has been like, I have to vote you. I'm sorry. Or this person I'm aligned with because, they're from Minnesota too. Whether or not he likes that or not, at the end of the day, Muna has been pretty straightforward with him. So at the end of the day, why should he expect loyalty from someone who's not with him? So you might as well take out somebody who is even more connected. Now we know Jacob got 0 votes that one previous round. He is even more connected in some ways than, Muna's connected, of course, but I feel like Jacob is a bigger threat at this point.
And Muna gave him the benefit of actually coming up to him and being like, look, I have to vote for you. I'm letting you know. Jacob didn't do that for you any of the rounds. You gave him safety. He fucked you. You made a plan with him to have a majority vote. He fucked you. You were on the block and he pushed for you to go, little do you know, and he didn't even tell you. And he fucked you, but you didn't pick him and you still want to work with him. And someone also posted, I think Shireen retweeted a video of his body language when Brent would touch him. He would be all calm and everything. But then when Shireen would touch him, he got get off of me. It's very telling, in the little things he does.
And at the same time, I don't think Muna fucked him over that many times. If you look at the first round, when she put him in exile, you want to be in exile. Your biggest, at the time, was Katie, was his biggest ally. You want to be there to keep her safe. You want as many people in exile to keep your allies safe so that you can get rid of people that you don't want in there, right? Yeah. So, and he wasn't even on the radar for being voted out. No. He wasn't even on the radar. So it's why wouldn't you want to go down there so you can protect one of your allies? So really, where's the screwing over happening right now? Just because you weren't in the round, in the, assassin or the murderer round, and you weren't there at the last minute, that could happen to anyone. It happened to Marcelo. No one was going against Marcelo. He just wasn't in the room. I think people would actually would respect him more if he had dragged in Jacob. They'd be like, okay, he gets it. He just, he got betrayed. And maybe someone would give him an olive branch in that case. But when he drags the woman after he's already threatened 2 of them, being Rachel and Shireen, in the last round, and basically Muna, no.
No. I forgot he did that too. Honestly, that would have fucked me up if I was Rachel or I was Shireen, and he had really said to me, if I get eliminated, I'm gonna pick the physically weak people in the chat. I would have said, well, fuck you, pick me then. Period. It would. Trust me, I wouldn't do good on the show because that entire round where Spencer was going on and on about who should I pick. I should have been fuck you, just pick me. Whatever. Let's fucking go. For real.
Yeah. I don't think that lightly.
He's been threatening about all these physical competitions, but neither of these competitions have been physical.
Not a single one.
Oh, but I forgot. I'm a man though. He won't pick me though, so it's fine. He won't pick me.
Yeah, you're good, Dylan. You're safe.
Yeah, all 5'8" of me is safe. Like
I'm enjoying this a lot, but we gotta get into those guys.
I know.
But there's a lot more to come for that, so it's all good. So real quick, so Spencer comes back into the game. Not many people are excited to see him back into the game, obviously. The only person who is semi-okay with it seems is like Jacob, because he feels like that relationship is salvageable and that it could easily be like almost... What was the word I'm looking for? It feels like he can like fix it in comparison to him and Muna, who are like on two-way different sides. But anyway, so we start this challenge, and the challenge is called Ball and Chain. Basically everyone will be tethered to somebody, and everyone will just have to vote somebody out. Strictly if one person gets voted out, the person who's tethered to that person will be leaving with them. Just to avoid rambling on for like a good 10 minutes about who's tethered to who, I actually took a screenshot. This is what the tethers are. Josh to Brendan, Rachel to Marcelo, Shireen. Oh, I said Shireen. Yeah, that's right. Shireen to Brent.
You got it right.
Brent to Billy to Spencer to Jacob to Natalie to Josh, so on and so forth. So that's the tethers here. I actually thought it was really interesting how it worked, because it almost seemed like at least one person was tethered to someone who they're not closely working with. So it was very interesting how that all panned out. So we start the challenge, and immediately people start scrambling like usual, because they didn't get much time to speak since the last round where Muna got out. And Shireen was basically scared that she's tethered to Brent, so she basically tells the entire house, hey, I'm going to the dining room. Anyone who wants to talk game with me, just follow me. And as she does that, we see Jacob, Billy, Josh, Rachel, and Brendan follow her in there to the dining room with her. And basically everyone's outing who they're tethered to. And that's the only person that's really concerned, other than like Shireen to a degree at the beginning, was Billy. And that's because Billy is tethered to Spencer. So I thought that was a little interesting there. You got Spencer, who's happy for the twist because he feels like this is his opportunity to stay safe for the round, since he's tethered to Jacob, who is a relatively well-connected individual. And that's how that first beginning basically panned out with that group. So we move on, and we see Natalie and Brent speaking, and he thanks her for supporting him during the last round. And Natalie tells Brent that if they were to work together for this round, who would Natalie basically pick? And she said that she wants to come after Brendan because she thinks Brendan's covered on all sides and no one's targeting him. So how do you guys feel about Natalie coming after Brendan?
I loved it. I thought she was
good for her.
I thought she was 100% correct.
Honestly, if Josh wasn't attached to Brendan, I think it really would have worked. But that's just kind of really the only reason that it failed. And, she and, they have a talk later on about Luxury Row. So I think, they want to stick together and keep as little people as possible going into Luxury Row and knowing that secret. So I think that, honestly, Natalie is playing the game like after, winning her battle match. She's like, she doesn't want to just be considered, just under the radar. She wants to make moves. And I really respect that.
Yeah. She's like actually throwing names, which I think people were like basically guilting her for not doing. Cause it's like, oh, the big players throw names, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, like I knew it wouldn't work because there's definitely targets that people want out more. And also I feel like Josh is pretty well connected, more than people think that he is, so I think people would want to protect him a little bit more, but at the same time it's kind of smart because now people are their eyes are a little bit more open because she'd made good points. So he may have been safe this round, but the next round, like he's maybe on the radar now that people are saying, wow, she's actually right, he is pretty well connected and he's playing this like low-key game. So I think it kind of put this blip on the radar for Brendan now.
This episode really made me like Natalie a lot. I already was slowly starting to like her more and more as the episodes had progressed. But this episode, I thought that everything that she had said about Brendan was 100% right. He has not really been up for elimination yet. His name has never really been out there. He's not one of the people that are pushing names. He's not really adding anything. And it's like, why is he safe? Is it just people are afraid to go against him in a battle match? Obviously not, because they're also throwing in fucking Spencer. So I 100% agreed with her, and I agree with you guys as well. I think that if it wasn't for him being paired with Josh, I do think that could have gotten some traction. But I like Natalie a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she's definitely starting to like show her true player now.
There were some things that she had said that I was like, wow. Like there was a part where Brent like was like coddling her, and she was like, oh, I know that you're just trying to be like the father figure to me. You're trying to just like make me feel safe or whatever. Like fuck off. And I was like, I love that.
Yeah.
And I definitely think we really started to see like this ignition of Natalie's game like 2 rounds ago. After like it's really interesting to see her evolution, because she started out like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but now she really woke up almost, and she's like doing her thing. So I like Natalie's game right now. So after this little connection, we see Brent and Natalie join the big group in the dining room. And basically, Brent thinks it's annoying that Shireen is holding court and everyone's listening to her. But I mean, I think she took the right approach here. I think she gets everybody in the group and everyone's telling each other's partner. I think that was the responsible thing to do there. To handle this round. Billy is annoyed because she's tethered to Spencer, like we said, and she doesn't like him currently because he's basically responsible for Muna's elimination. And like I said, this was basically, I don't know how long it was since the elimination, but I would assume like not a significant amount of time. So she's just now getting the chance to really react to like Muna leaving.
And I think the one thing, I don't know if you guys have been talking about it a lot or not, but I think it's also important to realize that there isn't much time for them to interact because they sequester them, individually. So that whole elimination could have just been on Billy's mind the whole time. And so like finding out, there's no really opportunity aside from that game discussion in the round to really talk to Spencer, to talk to anybody else. So it's really fresh, like even obviously in the context of it happening in the same day, but since there isn't really a lot of social time because production doesn't have the time to have multiple cameras around to watch everything, they do keep them separately and they're with their own thoughts. So I think that also comes into play and why this is so fresh for Billy.
Yeah, we talked about that last time because I think we were talking about it with Brent, how he was like kind of erratic in the episode. And we were like, I think it's when it was Katie, when he had voted for Katie, and like he was like really like all over the place. And we had said it's probably because he's by himself, probably didn't sleep at all that whole night. And he's just like alone in his own thoughts, and then gets released back, and then they see whoever comes back or whatever. So it's just like, well, Katie wasn't in there, but he was like thinking about the vote and whatever, and how he had to deal with it. So we've definitely talked about this before, like, because we figured that's what they were doing with them for each round.
Yeah, but Billy was very, very upset. Like Billy's like, I want nothing to do with Spencer. I don't want to be attached to Spencer. Like this is really bothering me, and rightfully so.
And to be fair on both sides, I think it would have been like it would have been a fair exchange regardless. Like I do think in a sense, like I do think Spencer should have took out like Jacob, or at least battled Jacob in this situation. But I think a good like second or third option, I guess he would be a Muna in this situation to a degree. So I mean, not just to even move past the last round. Like I think I see the reasoning to both ways, but I do understand Billy's frustration in this situation because she is to a degree an emotional player. Like she feeds off mantras and everything. So I do think if they had like that downtime, she would have probably let these feelings out, like not during a challenge. But since they didn't have that downtime, like I I wish, like, I want to ask Audrey after the season, like, what was their downtime like? Because it really feels like last season, at least, they got a lot of time to like speak on their own, almost like hang out. You know what I'm saying? But like, it really seems like if they're not doing a challenge or something, then they just can't talk and they're sequestered. So
yeah,
that's what it seems like. I listened to Audrey recently did something for her patrons and kind of answered some behind the scene questions, and she basically said because they really don't want to miss any interactions between people, and since production is so small, they keep them separate and sequestered. And fortunately, because the cast was so small, you know, everyone had like their own space or room to be in, and they used a lot of that downtime to do the confessionals in between the rounds. So it was really that they were just trying to, there wasn't really much time outside to interact outside the game. So it was like they would go in, do the round, it'd be over, then they're sequestered. They had other stuff going on, and then they go back in. So so a lot of it is fresh. And I think this, in terms of filming, they said this was like the longest season as well. And I know Dylan mentioned earlier, like the whole format is much different. And of course, I think that's really because of COVID-19, which kind of does impact how the pre-jury phase works. But obviously it's the entire jury phase, I guess, in this situation. But I do like, though, that we actually at least can devote more time to getting to know the players. And I think that's maybe why we saw all those confessionals in the second half of the episode. So
yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, just on Billy, to me, what I saw Billy and Rachel as well being upset about, I don't think they were really upset about the obviously they were upset to see Muna go home, but from what I could see from the emotion and from the confessionals, I think they were more so upset about how Spencer had talked down to Muna, because Muna did talk to them about it after it had happened, and then they had witnessed it during the battle match picking, like how he was talking to her. And I think that was more what they were upset about than anything. And they definitely needed some type of closure. But it doesn't look like they really got any.
Like,
unfortunate.
It seems like if you look at Rachel's confessional, it had, and she didn't even mention like, you know, oh, I lost an ally, whatever. She's like, I'm just thoroughly disgusted with this person right now because of his conduct. And Billy the same way. His conduct has shown time and time again that he has no social game. His game is just to get angry and throw tantrum and talk down to women straight up. He has not talked down to a single male in that house. Exactly. But he sees the woman. He literally, when it was the Rachel and Shireen thing, and he was like, he literally looked them up and down and said the weakest player. So I don't know, like that conduct alone would just piss me off. And then he just threw Muna under there, which, I mean, Muna's a big player. I get it. Whatever. Take her in. It is a good move. But at the same time, it's just like the whole conduct that led up to that is just kind of gross. That's all.
Exactly.
It's a continuous pattern. It's getting kind of irritating. And like you said, I think one important thing for me when I watch these games or play these games is the social awareness aspect, the jury management aspect. And Spencer's not thinking about that at all. Like, I get that he's trying to survive, but threatening people, you know, and talking down to people and intimidating people and not actually trying to form genuine social connections with people is going to be his downfall if he did make it to the end and had to do all these battle matches there, because he's not going to get the votes, because sure, he battle matched, but did he play strategically? That's also
exactly.
And the battle matches are random. They're literally luck. Like, you can't say, oh, I won battle. It was luck. You got lucky. That is not a good argument.
It's called lucky numbers. The challenge is called lucky numbers. Like, come on now.
Literally, he can win against no one. Not a single person. I'm going to put that out there. Anyone he goes to final 2 with, and anyone can argue with me on this one, he will win against no one. Straight up.
Oh, no, I agree with you. And it's so frustrating to listen to this man every single round be like, I'm on the bottom. Okay, well, what is your fucking excuse? Because Josh was on the bottom the first episode. Now he's doing great. He's in a great position now. And even if you go back to other seasons too, there's other players that have been on the bottom from the start and have worked their way back at shit. Even Jake Round, who I remember he was getting put into the bottom every single episode, did not complain as much as this man did. And even at like the final 5, he was able to switch a vote or two, like to get himself to top 4. And it's just like, I don't know. I hate watching him just because I don't like people that whine and be like, oh, well, it was me. But then like they're being an asshole. And it's like, I think a person that, like, you can play the game being big and bold and rah, 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 and still not be on the bottom. Like, one person that comes to mind for me is Demonica. She can, like, come at you, be like, fuck you, bitch, I'm gonna take you out this game, I'm gonna fucking come for you. But she has that social awareness and that social ability to back it up and make those connections and then take people out. And it's just like this, he just does I'm not even gonna say this man, this boy just does not have that ability. Like,
yeah, because Josh and Natalie are doing perfectly well right now, and they were the ones that were voted out, right? So
they're doing fine. They're not even on the radar for any of this. People basically didn't want to vote out Brendan to protect Josh.
Yeah,
so exactly. It's like this person who was an underdog seems to be having a pretty good social game, you know, without pissing people off. So
what is the excuse? What they don't like the Jonas Brothers? Is that why they're coming for you? Like,
totally.
like boy, bye. Come on,
boy, bye.
So Natalie, after the situation, is pushing Brendan to Jacob, and he agrees. And like we said, she's getting very excited because she feels like for the first time in the game, people are listening to her input and what she has to say. Spencer, in another room though, tells Brendan that he's tethered to Jacob, and Brendan asks him who he wants to target, and he says he's unsure, but he heard Brendan's name being spread around by Natalie. And he actually got this information from Brent, which was I thought that was a little funny, because Brent's game, it's interesting. It's like people know he's aspiring like type of like personality, like he likes to scramble, but he does this thing where like he whispers something in your ear, and when you hear something like enough times, that eventually you're gonna start to believe it. So Brent like does this thing where like he runs to this person, runs to that person. Oh, I heard this and that. I heard this and that. We saw this last round where Jacob was in on the majority vote, but then he whispers to Jacob, "Oh yeah, I heard that it's actually Josh and it's not you." And then Jacob starts scrambling. So like Brent is really good at scrambling in this game and throwing people off, and I thought that was interesting. Seeing that little interaction there as well.
Yeah.
So we see in the next scene, Spencer comes into the dining room and people are scattering. And Billy starts to vent to Rachel, Shireen, and Josh about being connected to Spencer. But she asks them to promise to her not to vote him because if he gets voted out, that she will get pulled with them. So they agree, and they have no plans basically to vote Spencer as far as she's aware of at this moment. But she tells them that she's going to play Spencer no matter what she has to do. Jacob attempts to do damage control with Spencer, though, since he voted him out, and Spencer realizes that his options are extremely minimal for his allies currently, so he decides to ignore what happened last round and basically forget all about what happened. But Billy comes in the middle of this conversation because she wants to talk to Spencer, like she said she wants to play him. But Spencer basically... Jacob holds Spencer hostage, and he's like, Billy, I get that, but like I need my alone time with him right now. Like you can talk to him afterwards. And Bill's like, okay. And she doesn't like that because she felt like, Jacob, you were close to Muna. What you doing? So she thinks that Jacob's playing both sides, and she's going to throw him under the bus.
As she should. I actually 100%. As soon as that happened, I was like, well, this is easy. Jacob needs to go up here. Like this is an easy one. As soon as Billy was mad at it, I was like, at this point, I don't know what else you need to see that Jacob is literally playing the whole house on either side, and he just threw an ally that everyone knows that he has under the bus. I don't know what more you have to see at this point. Not only are you going to get a player that no one likes and no one wants to align with out and is threatening everyone, you're also going to get a big player out. So this is actually the best case scenario for everyone, really, unless you're working with Jacob. So like Marcelo and like Brendan, who's just working with whoever is willing to at that point. But like, you know, I literally, as soon as that moment happened, it just like dawned on me, like, it has to be Jacob and Spencer. Like, that is the big move here. Like, you need to do that. And the whole throne vote thing, it's just like, literally, if everyone had just gone that way, then it could have been anyone who got dragged instead of throwing votes everywhere. You know, but as soon as that happened, I was like, Billy, you got to make this happen. Like, it's got to go down.
Yeah, it was definitely a red flag to Billy to see that like Spencer is the priority for Jacob, you know, instead of her. And so like, it's kind of like, I thought I'm your ally. How is Spencer your ally all of a sudden? I thought Muna was your close ally. And even in Spencer and Jacob's conversation, Spencer's like, oh, well, Muna was everybody's number one. I'm sorry. I didn't know that Muna was your number one, Jacob. And I was like, what? I feel like that was common knowledge. I don't know. So that was a very interesting situation. I mean, I think for Spencer, I can see why in one way, why he didn't choose Jacob to go to battle match him, just ultimately to get him as an ally. And as we saw in this episode, they became very close very quickly. But I think also aligning with Jacob too can put a huge target on your back because everyone knows how well connected Jacob is. But if Jacob is playing everybody, then I thought strategically, vote out Jacob to get out Spencer. So yeah.
It opened the door for honestly the smartest move. You know, you don't want Spencer in the game anymore, but you want to make sure Billy is safe, so take out his tether, which is Jacob. And you know what, the way that I would have thought of it if I was Billy, okay, you know, you want to buddy up to him so much, all right, well, y'all can be battle match buddies and y'all can go in the bottom together.
Exactly.
Like goodbye. Like, the way that Jacob should have done this is he first and foremost should have checked on his allies, because if he was really working with Billy and he was really working with Shireen and all of them, like, he would have been in that huddle and he would have been like, hey, are you guys doing okay? I know that you guys took Muna's elimination pretty hard. I'm sorry I had to throw her under the bus. I was just trying to stay safe.
Yeah.
And he should have just let Billy talk, because that's like the tether, because they got pretty much everything they need to say on the table. It was just, I think it was Jacob's biggest misstep, but again, it's really unfortunate that he really didn't even get punished for it.
Yeah, and like, why does he even need Spencer in the end? He could literally just drop Spencer and work with everyone else. Like, Spencer isn't anyone who has any influence at this point because he's at the bottom, literally, right? So it's like, why are you wasting your time talking to this person when you need to be mending other fences? Because right now people are hurting about Muna, like you said, Dylan. Like, you're absolutely right.
Jacob doesn't need Spencer. You know who needs Spencer? No. Spencer is, and see, I always play the game like everyone matters. Everyone votes matters, and it's always good to pick up the people that are on the bottom or don't really have any allegiances, because you're going to need that number. And as we saw with the votes, one vote could have changed the course of everything. But Jacob wasn't really in a position where he needs to pick up the bottom feeders, where he needs to pick up these people on the bottom. He had plenty of allies, which obviously they turned on him. But the people that needed to be talking with Spencer and needed to be reeling him in are people like, I would say, Natalie, a Josh, maybe a Brent, like people that aren't really in any position of power. That's who Spencer, like, that's who needs to be picking him up. It's right. Weird.
I mean, I don't know if like a huge factor of it too had to do with the fact that, you know, Spencer had Jacob. So like, because of their fate was tied together, they felt more obligated to work together. And I think maybe Jacob's concern was like, you know, I don't like, if there's some other situation that happens where it's not me or Spencer necessarily going home, or maybe it is in some other way, like, how do I ensure that I'm not pulled into a battle match, like, you know, based on whoever, you know, Spencer is tied to, which we know is Billy. But like, so maybe that was the sort of damage control that Jacob was trying to fix, because he did just betray Spencer by voting him. So I don't know if he was worried about, like, if Billy and Spencer go home, I don't want to be dragged in.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think what we're starting to see now leading on to like future rounds. I'm starting to, and I was going to talk about this later, but I'm fine with talking about it here. I feel like we're going to start seeing this Jacob, Marcelo, Natalie, and Spencer foundation almost start to formulate a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but I think with the person coming back in the game later, I think that is going to start throwing a wrench in that. Like, I think numbers wise, what they were hoping for is like maybe like you get past like 2 more rounds and then you could just run with this forward to the end. Like, I think that's what Jacob's mindset is. But with a person coming back in the game, it could like, especially like that Muna, possibly like Jay West, that could like really just like mess a lot of stuff up. So like, I don't know if this kind of like this social formulation of like this like little like subgroup is going to make sense right now. Like maybe if it was like in a few more rounds, maybe it's tricky. Like I don't think that the numbers are fully there yet, but we'll have to wait to see what fully comes through with that. But anyway, I'm just getting lost in that. Anyway, so continuing on with the episode. So Billy, like we said, gets irritated and she pulls Josh, Rachel, Shireen, Brent, and Natalie and Brendan to the side, telling them that she thinks Jacob is foul and asks who has Jacob tethered to them. And Brendan, like we saw earlier, exposes that Jacob is tethered basically with Spencer, because if you remember, Spencer and Jacob had that little talk, but then when Brent said, they're throwing your name out, he's like, all right, I gotta care about myself at this point. He's like, all right, so they're tethered. So we take out Jacob, Spencer's gone with them. And I thought that was a good move. So Shireen basically asks Brent, she pulls him aside, she says, hey, are you okay with voting Jacob? Because he doesn't give a straight answer. Like Brent doesn't give straight answers. He goes all over the place. And she basically reiterates during the last round that he was throwing his name out and like you should really consider going after Jacob this round. After this talk, basically Josh pulls Brent aside and wants to do some damage control because Josh voted Brent last round and he got his vote exposed. Brent doesn't mind. He's like, I'll it's under the rug, it's whatever, but like don't do that again. He's like, I'm looking out for you, I need you to look out for me. So it seems like they still have something there. I don't think Josh is too loyal to Brent, but I think Brent still wants to work with him. So we get to Jacob and Natalie and they both speak and basically they think that Billy is playing all sides of the house and she has her hands in every cookie jar. And they don't like the fact that she's throwing votes away like Marcelo, like she voted Marcelo. Little do they know that Marcelo and Billy like had like a little deal. But Marcelo basically plays dumb. He's like, yeah, I don't know why she voted me. So that's going there. Like we see Jacob and Natalie, their alliance is starting to come full circle, I think. And Marcelo is being brought into that, but he has like a little bit more knowledge of what's going on than they do. Yeah. So
I don't think Billy is playing all sides of the house though. Like if I really think about it, like Billy has been pushing names. I think what Billy has been doing is Billy's been throwing her vote, but she's been doing it because she's afraid of being picked for a battle. Like she was part of the campaign to put Spencer into the bottom and to put Jacob in the bottom. Like she is doing stuff, and did y'all see at the end of the episode that she threw her vote on herself?
Yeah. I'm like, imagine if she got called out and was like, Billy, expose your vote. I don't even know what would have
I voted for myself.
She would have got pulled in. She would have got pulled in.
Oh, 100%.
100% would have got pulled in.
But it would have just been so funny to just see how that would have played out. Or like,
I voted for myself.
She could have pulled like a celebrity moment and been like, I just don't want to be here anymore, like you guys are too much, like this stress. What was, oh my god, no, it was on America's Next Top Model. There was a girl that walked into the room like stomping her feet like boom 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 boom, and she looked at the judge and she's like, I don't want to be here anymore, I can't take the pressure of it. And they're like, don't you take any job interview? And then she stomps out, like, cutting Tyra off mid-sentence. I don't know if any of you've seen that.
No.
It's so funny. Look it up when this is over. It's so funny.
And, like, I don't know. It's like, I think people are starting to like confuse playing all sides of the house with just like throwing your vote away, you know.
Everyone's throwing their vote. That's the one thing I'm really not enjoying about this season is the reveals, because everyone's just throwing their votes because they're afraid to be dragged into a battle round. Like, it's driving me nuts. Like, I'm like, I want to see some actual like strategic voting here. Like, I guess the throwing your vote is strategic voting. Yeah. It sucks.
It is. I think. Yeah. I mean, I think that's just the whole thing, that we lose that pre-jury phase from the game. So, you know, and then everyone's like votes are exposed. So it's like your game is really out in the open more than usual. In a season of Sequester. So I think that's where it becomes challenging, especially for the people who have connections, because it's like if you're caught throwing a vote on somebody, or if you actually intentionally vote somebody, and maybe you played at a mini with them once or something, it just, some people take that game personal. So that's where, the lines are blurred a bit, and I think it just makes things too complex. So that's why I think we're seeing a lot of throwing votes.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because I think in comparison to last season, everyone's votes got exposed. So like, even if you lied, I think it was in the person's best interest to pull someone who not only voted them, but they don't have a connection with it. You could see the person, they're like, I'm connected with you. You voted me, but like, maybe we can repair that. Versus this time, you can only reveal like 3 people's votes. So it's like, yeah, like I know 100% you voted me, and I don't know if this person voted me, but since I know you voted me for a fact, like I'm going to take you. So,
well, there was a problem with the format last season as well. The problem was that since everyone's vote gets revealed, you pretty much have to vote with the house, because if you don't, and people see that you don't stand up, they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay." Like, it doesn't matter who you voted for. Like, you didn't vote the way that we all agreed we were gonna vote. So fuck you. You may not be the target this round, but next round, most definitely. That's why I was so surprised that Hunter was actually able to make it so far, because I would have thought the house would have been like, "Well, fuck him. Let's just throw his little ass back into the ring." But that's why I thought it was so good they changed the format. Even though I still don't love this format, they definitely were right changing it up a bit.
I do want to give props to Renee, who runs Draft Sequester, also originally from my cast 5-8. She actually came up with this twist, and it actually was seen in some minis prior to season 4. So it does, I think, shake up the game a bit, because some people are exposed and some people aren't. So it does make things interesting rather than everybody being exposed.
Yeah,
props to Renee. I love this take.
No, this twist is crazy. Yeah.
So we're going to see Josh and Natalie speak, and they basically have the conversation that we've been waiting like since last episode for, that basically they want to keep Luxury Row a secret from like the rest of the house, and they want to keep it from as many people as possible. They talk about possibly pulling Spencer into this at like a later time, but they just don't want this information to really get out a lot. It's interesting as well, because as we said, this whole we could see like this Marcelo, this Jacob, this Spencer and Natalie alliance. If they pull Josh into that, almost, that's like basically everyone who's been at Luxury Row at this point, minus like Marcelo, who like he doesn't really care. So this can be like a Luxury Row alliance almost. But the only issue with this is that in order for this to really work, you just have to keep going in. And then just hope that the other person doesn't come out successful. So it's tricky. I think that there could be repercussions with this at a later time for like, why are you guys hiding this? Like, who has the LOS? But that's what's going on over there. So Brendan confronts Natalie for throwing his name out, which I think he handled this the way that this is what I was talking about last episode. I think Spencer could have handled it like this, where he basically confronts Natalie about throwing his name out and says that if I get voted out, I'm pulling you with me. And he doesn't really do it with like yelling or anything. So that's what I was talking about last episode, where it's like right idea, bad execution. Like I felt like Natalie didn't feel some type of way for him doing this. She was like, yeah, okay, I did it, whatever. It's a game, like it's a game, you know.
I loved Natalie's reaction too when he was like, "I'm gonna pull you in." She was like, "Okay, whatever."
Whatever. She's like, I've been there, like been there, done that. I'm not afraid. Like whatever.
Like it's not like getting in your face or like all this screaming stuff. Like if you just be like, hey, like I heard you, like respectfully so, like I'm pulling you if I go in. And she's like, okay, whatever. Where like the Spencer thing is like, and he's like, now I'm now coming for you. Like I don't think Natalie, even though she is coming for Brendan, she's not like after this. She's not like, oh, I need to throw his name out after this.
No,
exactly.
No.
Yeah.
I kind of liked that it was just like, oh, okay, you threw my name out. Yeah, I did. Oh, okay. Well, just don't vote me or you'll go to battle match. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
There was like all this talk too, like because Brendan was like, I'm just gonna go to her and be like, you threw my name out, so you need to like campaign to not do this anymore. And then it was just like that plan didn't even happen. It was just like because he was basically like threatened her, but like in a better way, obviously. And she was just like, okay. And he's like, oh, okay, well.
Natalie did not give a fuck.
No,
like,
she did not give a fuck. Because she knew. She's like, whatever. Like, I seem to be the pick all the time anyway. So like.
She's like, if you gotta pick me, you gotta pick me. It's fine. Yeah. I won once already. I can win again.
Been there, done that. Done that.
Mm-hmm.
So we see Brendan for the second time this round throw Jacob and Spencer under the bus, saying that they're tethered to each other. And that if one of them goes, if Jacob goes, Spencer goes because they're connected. And Brent and Josh actually come in during this conversation. There's just like a big room of people, and they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we have the numbers here. Let's just take out Jacob." But Jacob, since he knows his name is going around, is spiraling and starts going room, and finally finds a big group of people, and they're like, "Ooh!" So people start leaving. And Jacob basically is like, "All right, so what's going on?" And they said, "We're doing Spencer," and Jacob's like, "Oh, okay, whatever. This could work." So Marcelo and Jacob have a conversation, and Marcelo tells Jacob that he doesn't know why Billy voted him, even though that was a complete lie. And he said that he's going to cash in his IOU to Billy, saying that, okay, I need to vote you since you voted me. And Billy took it well. She was like, you know what? Yeah, like I owe you this, so you can do it. I've been preaching this for like 3 or 4 episodes. I know some people disagree. I really think Marcelo is playing a good game because I don't think anyone was targeting him at all.
I agree now.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I just think that that's such a smart move. It's like, okay, well, you threw your vote on me, so I'm going to do it the other way around. But finding out that Billy threw a vote on herself and self-voted, that could have been risky if someone else just threw a vote on Billy, because then Billy could have
Billy would have went down.
So that's the only concern I have with Billy self-voting. But I do think that was very smart of Marcelo to do, because Billy kind of had to be like, okay. I mean, if I don't see any reason why Billy would. It would just be difficult for Billy to disagree about it because Billy did it. So
I somewhat didn't understand why she threw the vote on herself, because if it got exposed, I felt like people would have been like, "What the fuck?" Like. I don't know, but something you had brought up that I actually wanted to bring up again was that Spencer got thrown under the bus by both Jacob and Brendan, and those are the 2 people he's trying to work with, and it's like, why? Like,
I don't think it's actually getting back to him that they're throwing his name out.
It got back to him last round, though.
It did, both of them. Like, people were telling them, like, it's just so weird to me that, like, well, actually, it's not weird to me. I know the reason why, but
you know why.
He has such a hard-on to work with Brendan, who does not give 2 shits and a popsicle about him, and it's like what, what don't you understand? Like, he doesn't care about you.
Like Brendan, honestly, is probably the most self-interested player here out of the entire cast. Like I said this on Twitter, but like he really reminds me of like the Hunter of last season, where it's like he really just doesn't care. Like he doesn't have any real like allegiances to anybody. Like he's doing what he feels like doing. And I mean, it's starting to catch up to him now, but like I really think that people really should start looking at Brendan at this point. Like he needs to go.
Shireen put it out. She laid it out perfectly, like this rug. She laid it out perfectly that Brendan is never adding anything. He's only listening. He never actually follows through on his vote anyway. He's always throwing votes or whatever. So it's what's the point of even having you here? Like, what are you contributing?
Yeah. So we got Billy and Spencer towards the end of the round, and they basically have a little their first conversation since Muna got out, and she was asking, "Oh, why did you take out Muna?" And basically, he gives his own he explains his mindset on what happened last round and why he did what he did. And she says that she's not going to vote Spencer, but he needs to look out for her as well. And I think this is what Billy meant by she was going to play him, because with the technicality, I think her and Shireen definitely relied on technicalities this round, where it's I technically didn't vote you like I said I wasn't going to do, and I voted someone else, but at the end of the day, they're still targeting him. So she technically honored her deal. She told people go take out Jacob so Spencer can go with him, but she voted herself. So it's nitpicks at this point, but they do that little deal. And then out of nowhere, Brent comes in the room and he's like, "Oh no, it's Jacob, it's Jacob, it's Jacob." And the other choice, because Spencer doesn't want Jacob to go because then he'll go with them. So he's like, "All right, if we don't do Jacob, the only other name I've heard is Brendan, so let's do Brendan." And okay, that's fine, cool, whatever. And then you got Josh coming. And he's like, "Wait,
no."
And then Brent does the funniest thing this episode. He just starts freaking out. He's like, "Damn." So Spencer's like, "This is a lost cause. I'm just gonna go throw Brendan's name out," and then he leaves. So that was really funny to me.
I think that was the first moment where I agreed with Spencer. There was nothing else that you were gonna gain from that room. You might that's how I play in the minis, in the one where me and Isaiah played, and I mean it was successful. If you're going into a room and there's nothing to gain from it, the two target, just leave. So that was the right move there.
Yeah, I agree.
That was just a funny situation, though.
Wait, what? And then Spencer was basically like, "No, I don't care."
Watching Brent is just so funny because he's just he's such a mess. It's so entertaining. He just
mess is the right word.
Yeah,
but in a good way.
I agree.
But I think that's why it's important to be pretty transparent about who you have. And even especially when I played this in a mini, I straight up was like, "Everybody, who do you have? I want to make sure that we're not targeting somebody that will lead to you going home or something like that." Because I felt that was really important. Even I would go from room to room and I'd be like, "Oh, has this name, this is a name I've heard." And they're like, "No, I'm attached to that person." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well then who else can we do?" So to make sure that someone that we or that are working with, is not being eliminated as a result. So I think that people are playing it properly, and I think we saw that kind of earlier in the round where people were like, "Who do you have? Who do you have? Who do you have?" But that's also where it's challenging. If you don't know who certain people have, then you might target the wrong person, unintentionally. So
exactly,
100%.
So literally seconds before the challenge ends, Billy begs a group of people not to throw votes on her because she feels like people are throwing their votes away this round, and they're like, "Who's throwing votes on Billy?" So, the challenge ends. Little did they know that it was Billy throwing votes on herself. But so that's the challenge. I actually took screenshots of the votes for people. Let me get my screen share real quick. 1 second.
I just really want to hear what her explanation was for voting for herself.
Oh yeah, me too. I think she'll build on that next episode. But so the votes.
Yeah.
Real quick, where Brendan got votes from Spencer and Brent.
That made sense.
Rachel got votes from Shireen and Brendan. Shireen throwing her vote away. And I think Brendan throwing his vote away too.
I didn't understand why Brendan did that, just because if you're gonna throw a vote on somebody, I don't know, throw it on Marcelo or whatever. But Rachel was your tether, so it's you were basically voting yourself. It was really
that's
weird.
Really, risky. Yeah, that's like Billy voting herself. I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense, because if you know also your name is being thrown around, aren't you trying to protect yourself? So
he should have voted.
He
should have voted Natalie. Just like vote Natalie. Be like, I don't know, that she fucking voted. She was pushing my name, so fuck her. I'm gonna.
That would have been actually an easy move.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then we got Billy, who voted herself, and then Marcella cast as IOU in. We got Jacob, who got votes from Josh, Rachel, and Natalie. Natalie, I don't know. Well, we'll get into that.
She should have shot her. Shoot your shot. She should have just went for the Brendan, because she would have got him out there.
Yeah. And then lastly, we got Spencer, who voted Jacob. So a lot of people threw their votes away this round. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about that?
How many people threw on their own tethers?
Yeah. That's what's a little messy. I don't know how I feel about that, but
I think that is what's bothering me more so than, I don't know, when Spencer and Jacob were enduring their little circle jerk. We're like, oh, people are playing scared. People are playing the whole house. It's like, I don't really give a shit about that. I don't think anyone's playing scared. I think I'm just bothered by people throwing their vote, because it's like, just fucking vote somebody and like, and then that's it, you know, like throwing your vote. It's ridiculous. Like every single round, it's like, did you guys see in the first season of Survivor when Gretchen got eliminated, when the vote was like 1 to 1 to 1 to 2 to 3 or some horse shit like that? It's like, it's ridiculous every episode. Like,
because the only thing I can think about is like, maybe, you know, like if you throw your vote on that person or something, you know, your vote won't get exposed because they won't think that you voted your tether. But then it depends on like who actually gets the votes for if that actually works out for you or if you actually end up in. So I think that's the only reason I could be like, oh, well, you know, no one's gonna, like, if you're tethered to that person and they know, they're not gonna say like, who did you vote for? Because I think it'd be obvious they probably didn't vote for you. That was obvious, but as we've seen with the votes, it wasn't as obvious how the votes actually landed.
It's just a mess.
It's weird. That's really what it is. Like your vote, when I don't understand voting for yourself or voting for your tether, especially since when it gets revealed, it's going to be obvious you like basically threw your vote away, and it's like no one's respecting that. Like,
yeah, because Jacob could have totally just voted for Brendan, because like you could be like, well, yours was the name and then mine was, so I just threw it on you, and that's like respectable. And like it's not like I don't even know who Brendan would drag at all, but like I don't think it'd be Jacob. But anyway, it's just like like there's two names being thrown. Just throw it on one of them. I
guess he probably would have done Natalie,
since he knew Natalie. For sure. Since he would have known for sure Natalie threw out his name, he'd be like, well, Natalie's responsible, so I guess he would have probably dragged
exactly, and that'd be a good reason. Well, Natalie threw out my name, so I threw it on her. Done. Not I just threw it on Rachel because whatever.
The votes that confused me, I think, were the two votes on Rachel, which was Brendan and Shireen. Like, I get Shireen, she said that she threw her vote away. I wouldn't have done that.
No, I wouldn't have done that either.
Brendan, who I feel like it's a no-brainer you vote to get Jacob out since you hear your name getting thrown around.
Exactly.
And then Jacob, who also knows his name is in danger, throws his vote away on Spencer. So I'm just, those three votes, like I would say Natalie too, but I mean, she kind of got blindsided. So I mean, that's whatever there. But those three, I'm just kind of confused why those three specifically threw their votes away. And I mean, Billy too, but I mean, like if Billy got her vote exposed, that would have been really bad for her.
Yeah. But you know, Billy talked her way out of it, and maybe she felt confident that she could talk her way out of being exposed. So maybe that's why she took the risk.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That's my guess. But otherwise,
that's so bold.
It's so very bold. I would never do that personally. Yeah. Also, I'm paranoid of voting myself and voting myself out.
You know where it makes sense? If it was the twist from last season, or a twist where the person that gets eliminated, it automatically reveals who voted for that specific person, then it makes sense, because then if you voted for literally anybody, and as we've seen, anyone could literally go home because of all the throwaway votes. So then it makes sense. But with this twist where the vote is like revealed by a select pick, it doesn't really make all that much sense. And I hope that what this season teaches the season 5 people, it certainly teaches me if I ever get picked for this fucking show, that always vote for the person you want to go home, because people will throw their votes and there's a possibility Natalie could have got, I forgot which one of you said it, Natalie could have gotten out Brent in this episode and she just stuck with it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So challenge ends, and Jacob is voted out, and Spencer is dragged with him. Jacob and Spencer are both annoyed, and they do like this little monologue basically about how they're going to come for anyone who threw their votes away. So basically, if you threw your vote away and you get your vote exposed, that's their criteria. They think that first that Billy is playing scared. They both agree on that. And they were going to originally get her to expose her vote, but Billy here honestly plays this very smart. Like, I think this part of the battle selection, she played it good. We'll get to the Brent portion later. Like, I don't think that she handled the Brent situation correctly, but this situation where she almost got her vote exposed, she basically defended herself and said that she's a woman of her word. She doesn't want to play scared. And basically Jacob liked that she basically publicly claimed her vote, so she didn't have to expose. So he didn't have to expose her vote. And I think Billy played this really good, because if you don't get your vote exposed after you know for a fact that you like lied and like they leave the conversation like believing you, that's perfect for you. That's awesome. The bad portion is, well, one, if she got her vote exposed, like that's it. Like, she would have been out there.
But I'm thinking about it, and there is a way that she could have put it. She could have been like, well, I heard the two names were Jacob and I heard your name, Spencer, and I couldn't vote for either of you. I just I couldn't do it. And she could have also been like, I'm still very emotional from all this Muna stuff. Like, I just voted myself. And
I mean, yeah, but after going on like a whole like speech about how like she didn't vote, like she made a promise, like all that, and then like be like, they were already, yeah, like they were
that's
already,
why it was so good.
Today.
Like the Academy Award goes too. It's
See,
like
Jacob was already on to her though. He was like early in the year, he was like, I don't like the fake tears. It's like he does not think that Billy is like genuine.
At the same time, she's not working with.
Real, though.
I think the tears were real. At the same time, like,
yeah.
There was three names going around. Why didn't you throw it on that third name?
Yeah.
If you were really like, I'm loyal to you two, and I heard your two names, so I just threw it on me. Well, why didn't you throw it on Brendan?
She could have been like, I didn't hear that name. I didn't remember that name.
Come on.
Brendan seems like such an easy vote here.
I didn't talk to anybody who said his name, but I mean, I think she was pretty clear. She's like, if I want you out, I'll let you know. And I feel like she does throw out people's names. She doesn't necessarily vote them out, but she does make it clear who the target is. And she did have their back. She didn't vote either of them. She's like, do you want me to put my vote on you? Would you prefer that? That's not.
I think they prefer her to put it on someone whose name's being thrown around, so that they have a higher likelihood of being dragged down. Like I think that's. Like, I'm not going against Billy or whatever. I'm just saying, like, strategically, when I'm thinking about like all the things that could have been done. Yeah, I think because you can't, like, Spencer's name, I don't even think was thrown around that much. Like, for one blip of a second, Spencer's name was thrown around because it was tethered to Billy, because people didn't want Billy to go out. So, like, it just made. So actually, there's no logic here in the end, because she didn't vote for Jacob because she's aligned with Jacob. She's not going to vote for Spencer because she's tethered to Spencer. So why would you vote for her? Why would she go for anyone else? So I would have just been like, I caught you in the weirdest thing here.
Yeah, it doesn't logically make sense. But I feel like, I guess she was just like, how do I get out of this? But I think it is, in a sense, if you're not voting for a target, it seems like you're like half with Jacob and Spencer. Like, you're not fully with them. If you're fully with them, you're going to vote out someone who's either targeting them or somebody who you're not as aligned with to keep them safe. And so it's kind of like, yeah, sure, you didn't vote me, but by voting yourself, you're like taking an easy way out and you're not really showing allegiance to me. So I think like you said, Chanel, I feel like it is kind of not probably the best. Like, at least throw your vote on a name that was said.
Yeah. At the same time, now I'm just like thinking back. If she probably couldn't do Brendan because she's aligned with Josh probably right from the beginning, so she couldn't throw it on Brendan. At the same time, she literally could have thrown it on anyone else. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's difficult. This round is a very difficult one to play. So I can see why some people threw votes in certain ways, but I feel like if your name is in danger, you need to vote someone who's actually out there.
Yes.
And if you're well connected like Billy, I guess, but still at least strategically put your vote, because throwing it on yourself, especially if you're going to get potentially exposed, that could have been like her downfall.
Yeah. So Spencer chooses to have Natalie explain her vote first and expose it. She tells them that she voted Jacob, but that she originally wanted to target Brendan, but nobody wanted to do the plan with her, so she followed with the majority. I think Jacob didn't mind that. Like, he was like, yeah, I get it. It's cool. So then Jacob exposes Rachel's vote, and she tells them that she voted Jacob because she wants to target Spencer strictly. And they're like, yeah, I get that. He was like, it's whatever.
Spencer was gaslighting the fuck out of that, though.
Yeah.
Because he wanted, honestly, I don't think he should have done that, because I think that he wanted to go against Rachel, and like I think that cemented Jacob picking Rachel. And obviously, because I really do think that he was gonna do Rachel just because, I mean, what he had said to her earlier, but also it took him so long to make a pick. I think in his head he had already been like, okay, I want her. So I don't know, but his gaslighting really annoyed me. I was like,
we'll get to that after Isaiah finishes. Like, I have a lot to say.
and real quick, like, I think the selection was fine, because I think we saw last episode Rachel was saying that she wanted to target Jacob and she didn't want him long term, but I've been saying this a lot, like, smart decision, bad execution, because the gaslighting really didn't make much sense to me. I mean, like Chanel said, we'll get to that.
It made him look like a douche. Like, that's it. Like, it didn't help his game in any fucking way at all.
Yeah.
So being buddy publicly with Spencer like that, I feel like people are not really going to want to work with Jacob as much anymore. I mean, obviously, I think with Spencer, like, people already don't really care for him at all, so it didn't really make much of a difference except make them probably feel worse about him. But the performance that I saw from Jacob did not, like if I was in the game, I would not feel good about working with Jacob moving forward. And like, I consider Jacob a friend, so that would just be kind of, just seeing that all those interactions kind of made me feel a little weird.
It was the piss drizzle on the turd sandwich that is Spencer's game. That's all it was. Like,
here's how I saw it. When you go to the zoo and you go to the gorilla cage, and the gorillas are like, look at me, I'm big and tough. Let me pound my chest in front of you, or the Tarzan, like, pound my chest. It was a feed off of each other. Look how manly man we are. Come up against us. Like, we can do whatever. As much as Spencer's been doing this the whole time, I did not expect that from Jacob, and I did not like that from Jacob. And sorry, Jacob, I was a stan before, but my account has been canceled because that was okay. I'm all for, like, POC all the way, let's go, blah blah blah, but that move right there, no, I don't like it. I don't like who your pick was. It made no sense whatsoever. It was exactly the move that Spencer has been doing week to week. So, like, why at this point are you any better than him for doing the exact same thing that he just did? You basically did the same thing, looked someone up and down and went, you're the weakest, come on in with me. Like,
that's
why?
That's what he said.
Yeah, you're the weakest, so I gotta pick you. Why?
I just feel like people are all about showing that they're strong and better than anybody else. Pick the perceived best.
Exactly. Pick a strong competitor. It was already proven.
Let's go.
If you are
such battle matches are to chance, so you could still beat them. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
What kills me and kills my whole soul, sends it to heaven, hell, and all the way back, is that he was sitting here, Spencer, and was saying that he's the pinnacle of physical ability. He is the best physical player in the game, and nobody could trump him. And he has said that, Brendan would be his, second match. Like, he's the other, like, athletic-looking person.
So why are you not dragging him in?
Why are you not picking his ass if you can?
Why are you not dragging him in? It drives me nuts. It's straight up just buffoonery. Like, I am over this. I'm the toughest one. I'm gonna take I'm gonna take this weakest one. You're not even proving yourself. The battle matches aren't even physical. You've already seen one. You know that. And it's just like both of them. I don't understand. And we already had a big blow with Muna. I'm just gonna go off on the POC rant right now because it needs to be said. We already lost a female POC last episode, okay? Every single one of them wants to work with you, Jacob, at this point. You just pulled in another one, and you know for a fact that Spencer is going to do the exact fucking thing. So it's like, let's just deal another blow and pull in two of them. Like, why did you could have pulled in anyone out. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why are you protecting all these white males that are left in this game? That makes no sense to me. And you literally could beat them.
All the women of color, and like
every single one you just picked off. Like, this is not a safe space right now. And you would think that Jacob would be there to protect them because Muna was one of his biggest allies. So like, it makes no sense to me. So, and Geneva can like pick up on this as well. As a POC woman watching this show, it's very discouraging to see them being picked off one by one because they're seen as weak. Or as a strong person, they speak up, they throw people's names, they're trying to actually play the game, and they get picked off by these men who are just like, well, I'm strong. I'm going to prove that I'm stronger than you because you're a strong woman actually speaking your mind, and I'm going to prove that I'm actually stronger than you by picking you off in a battle match. So it's kind of disgusting and it's kind of gross, and I'm sick of it. Anyways, go on, Geneva.
It's very problematic. It's very disheartening to see because I feel like when we, we're watching this, like Shireen is playing a really great game. Like Billy is playing a really great game. Rachel is playing a really good game. And it was very clear that Rachel this whole time really detests Spencer. Like, it is very clear. And that is why Jacob was voted. Like, so I just don't understand why Jacob would bring one of his allies into a battle match only for what? To lose an ally and be with someone who's at the bottom. I just don't think like strategically that even makes any remote sense. And we even see Rachel's like, oh, I'm really disappointed you picked me because I really wanted Spencer to pick me, which I thought was actually I personally would have loved to see like Rachel and Spencer in a battle match and see, hopefully Rachel beat Spencer in a battle match, just because I feel like he is, he's really this huge antagonist in the season that's kind of driving me insane. And he's just, talking to people really disrespectfully, belittling them, making them feel inferior. And, I just didn't like that Jacob was joining along with that. It made me really uncomfortable just because I know I know who Jacob was working with in this game. So it was just very weird to see him go all of a sudden for being like, Muna's my closest ally, and then working with someone like who hates Muna basically, or does not really like Muna, and then just does not like any of his allies and is, talking to them in the way that they're talking to them. So, and it just was disheartening because it's like, if I was in this game, if I was in this position, like I might be easily dragged into a match just because I'm considered short, and tiny, and that would make me be considered inferior to people. But it's like, I've played a lot of sports in my life. I've done a lot of things that could easily make me a threat as well. And I think, as we know, this is if the competitions are gender neutral, then why aren't you picking, like the men? It's probably not even going to make a difference because we rarely see physical challenges. There have been very few that I've seen on Sequester Live. So at the end of the day, why not bring in a Brendan or a Brent or somebody, to like actually prove that they're playing the game? Because there are some people that we're questioning. We know that Rachel's playing the game. We know that Shireen is playing the game.
Mm-hmm. There's been like 2 or 3 physical challenges. There was the one last season where Dina was like, I'm gonna pop a tit. There was the one in the very first season, which was when they didn't even have like any real challenges in mind, where you had to shove somebody off of a like a balance beam, and that was season 1. And then I think there was another one
where they were like they were like drag, like it was kind of like a tug of war type thing.
Yeah.
Yes, that one. So there's very rarely any physical challenges, and it's like it is very unfortunate watching all this happen, because it's kind of a reflection of the real world. Like white men, we're allowed to be mediocre or subpar and at anything, and we can get rewarded for it, and we can succeed at it, while a woman specifically, and even more so with a minority woman, has to work twice as hard, 3 times as hard, be excellent, and still probably won't even get rewarded for it. And it's really discouraging watching how all 4 of these episodes have pretty much been controlled by Muna, Shireen, Rachel, and Billy. They've been the ones that have been pushing the narrative for the game. I mean, not yet has a person who was actually voted out the game has actually been eliminated. I mean, Josh was voted off. He's still here. Natalie was voted off. She's still here. Spencer, Jacob, they're still here. And it's like, I don't want to say it's unfair, because that is the name of this specific
game. That's just how this game goes.
Yeah, that's how this game works.
But it's just really hard to watch these women succeeding in the game, and especially after watching Big Brother 22 and the shit show that was. But it's really hard to watch these women succeeding in the game, but at the same time being punished for the success.
Also, I think the thing that bothers me about Shireen being pulled into the battle match is she didn't even vote Spencer, or Jacob.
Yeah.
Like, she voted Rachel, and like Shireen made it very clear, like, she's like, I will work with you. Like, I don't know why you need to, like, when you guys come back, I will work with you. Like, she's open, like, I'm going to work with you. Why are you pulling? It just did not make any sense. She's like,
it made no sense.
If you have somebody who is willing to publicly be your ally, in what logic does it make? Accept it. What logic is there?
It was good enough for Billy. Why not Shireen?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't get either. And that's why I was so confused. I'm like, Spencer, Shireen is literally like, I will be your ally. I will work with you. Do not pull me into a battle match. And Shireen did not vote for Jacob or Spencer. So for me, I'm just like, then why are you dragging Shireen in? Why are you dragging Shireen in?
You know why. You know why.
And that's where I'm like, okay, the implicit bias is super real in these social strategy games.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know why.
It's awful. It sucks. And that's where it's like, where there's an added layer of complexity to play games like Sequester. In minis, or a lot of these orgs, like there, you have to play twice as hard as a minority and as a woman of color in these games, because there are already perceptions and stereotypes that people put on you.
Exactly. And I am reading the chat. Like, Bpred brought up a point, like Marcelo and Brendan are his allies, so are his allies and aren't going to pull him in. I didn't say to pull either one of those in. There are many other players that have betrayed. Actually, you say Brendan's his ally, but Brendan has betrayed him multiple times. So,
and Spencer voted him too.
Exactly. So why not pull him in? If you look at the whole lineup, you see, and Natalie brought up the point that he is the most best set. So he could have used that to his advantage and be like, Shireen, I want to drag you in right now. I need you to promise me that you are going to work with me from now on, and I will drag this person in. And I know Shireen would work with him, to keep herself alive. So it's like, he didn't use that at all. He was just really pissed off for no reason, and then just pulled her. Like, I get it. Like, she voted for him a couple times, but I'm sorry, your approach was really bad. So she has a reason. If you just said, let's squash this beef, let's actually work together, like, whatever, I'll show you respect, whatever, he could have moved on. But he didn't even try. He didn't even try.
Also, we don't know, like, Marcelo and Brennan, like, publicly haven't too much had to prove themselves or really expose anything.
Yeah.
So, like, if Brendan did, had to say, like, oh, yeah, I voted Rachel, then how would, and so, like, then that's where Spencer probably would have been like,
test your allies here.
Yeah, test your allies.
Test your allies here. And it doesn't even matter anyway, because he tested his ally last round and it didn't even matter.
He was like, "Oh,
Jacob would have been brought down." Yeah, exactly.
It was weird.
Like even on a strategy sense, all right, Spencer's nomination, whatever. I think Jacob, at least in the grand scheme of things, I really think that Rachel was the bad selection for him.
Awful.
Because I feel like it was almost like a positive for Spencer, because I think I don't really know what Jacob really benefited from doing that. Like, yeah, she wasn't going to work with you long term, but he didn't know that. At that moment, he was even, because I mean, I'm just going to say it real quick. We'll come back to this, but basically he was like whispering to Spencer later during the selections that Brendan's being shady, or like Brendan's disloyal. It's like yeah, but like, why didn't you do that? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I really did feel like Jacob specifically, like, I think that he fumbled this round a little bit. Like, I think that if he really was off put by like Brent and Brendan, like, I really think that he specifically really should have like pulled one of those two in. Like, I don't think Rachel was the right decision here. Spencer, it could, you know, either or. It really depends on how it goes after this round. But like, I agree with you guys said, and honestly, like, I'm glad that we have this podcast, because like, I think it really gives like a lot of different voices and perspectives, like you know, a platform to really speak on that really haven't been given that opportunity in other places yet. So like, I'm really glad that you guys are, Dylan, Chanel, Geneva, I'm really glad that you guys are like giving it all out. Like, we don't filter anything over here. We keep it 100. So thank you.
If you made me, I'd leave you. Okay.
So real quick, just to close this thing out. So Spencer basically wants to expose Marcelo's vote, but Jacob defends Marcelo, saying he's good. We don't need to expose it, whatever. And Spencer and Jacob both expose Shireen's vote, and Jacob trusts her, but Spencer still wants to see where she lies. And she exposes that she voted Rachel, throwing her vote away, but that she's targeting Spencer because the last two rounds, despite other people being scared to do so. She also explains her reasoning about him telling her and Rachel that like 2 rounds ago that he's going for the least physical threats in the house, and that rubbed her the wrong way. It didn't sit well with her, so that's her reasoning why. And I thought for a while that they were actually going to get away with actually at least Shireen getting pulled into it, but I mean, you know, you saw what happened. So lastly, she also exposes the deal that she made with Jacob and Spencer these last 2 rounds, about how she promised the both of them, or at least to Spencer on Jacob's behalf, that she isn't going to vote either one of them, and she didn't break the deal. I mean, she voted Rachel, so it's like, how did you expect her to vote? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's so annoying.
Yeah. So we get to the selections, and this is a lot. So I'm going to try to explain this as detailed as possible without it being confusing and not taking up too much time. But Jacob just straight up pulls Rachel in, not much reasoning. He just pulls her in. Spencer originally decides to pick Natalie, but then she gets upset and then throws Brendan under the bus, saying that it doesn't make sense to bring her in because she attempted to target Brendan. And she says that Spencer is basically saying that he doesn't really owe Natalie anything because she voted for him. And she's like, hey, but you voted for me when I got out. Like, you know, I don't owe you anything. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to defend yourself. And she says that she's at the bottom. And it doesn't make sense to take another player out from the bottom, because it's like, what's that helping? Like, you're just giving the power what they want. And he's like, okay, like, you're starting to get to me. So who do you think I should take out? And she says, she looks around first. She says, Brent seems disloyal. I don't trust him. And Brent's like, what the heck? And then
what? Never.
No way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then she says, she also thinks that Shireen and Billy haven't been put to the test yet in the box or whatever. So maybe those two. And then she finally says, and then Brendan, because no one's targeting him. And Brendan gets angry too. Like a lot of people, like nobody likes the fact that Natalie's throwing everyone under the bus right now. But the crazy thing is, she's making a lot of sense. Like, her read is crazy right now. Like, she's actually, like, everything she's saying is true. Brendan isn't getting targeting. Brent is a liar. Billy and Shireen at that moment, they were like literally like they were fine. So I think Natalie really played this correctly. I do think the fact that she was put in a situation where she had to air out everybody isn't going to really sit well with a lot of individuals. That being said, though, I don't think anyone's going to, other than like maybe Brendan, is going to really hard target on Natalie, especially when you have Jacob who can reel Spencer in, Marcelo in. So we'll see how what results come from this, but like I actually like what Natalie did here. It showed that to the players and to the jury that she's not just a floater. Like she's getting information. She knows where everybody's at.
Yeah, she knows everything that's going on. And I just want to point out the other thing that bothered me about Jacob's selection was the way that he worded why he had picked Rachel, which was straight up, I need to win this match, and for that reason I pick Rachel. Which is
Rachel
like
almost beat him too. That's the crazy part.
It's just like, So are you saying that she's the weakest person here? Because that's not true.
Yes, that was what he was saying.
And it is straight up because of physical appearance, and I don't like that. And don't say it's not. And don't say it's not.
It is.
Because it would be equal between every single person there. That challenge was luck. So I did not like that at all, straight up. Anyway, moving on. I just had to give my Jacob 2 seconds because I'm not letting him get away with his.
As you said,
I agree with you. And to be honest with you, his whole thing in the confessional being like hurt and betrayed by her, I would have believed her. All you needed to see, it wasn't what she said. Oh, spam, sorry. It wouldn't have been anything that she said. It was the same day they did that whole twist, right? Nobody else changed their clothes. She did. She changed her shirt and she wore "Women Rule the World" on her shirt as a sign, as like a fuck you to Spencer and a little bit of love to Muna. To me, that would have been enough to be like, okay, she really fucking hates this guy. That's why she voted for me. It's okay. So
yeah, exactly.
You're absolutely right, Chanel. It was 100% physical appearance, and that really says something.
So it's time for Spencer to decide who to pull in. And originally he was going to do Shireen, but then a lot of people starts talking at once. And honestly, like I felt like I was watching the movie Uncut Gems, because like so much was going on at once. Like
Uncut Gems, don't remind me.
like literally, I'm just gonna break this down as fast as I can. So you got Shireen, she's like, I honor my deal, I didn't vote you. Jacob's whispering, yeah, Brendan is shady. Then you got Shireen's like, all right, you gotta throw Brent, like Brent, he's distrustworthy. And Brent's like, what? Like, no, she's lied. And then Jacob is like, yeah, I believe Shireen. Yeah, you need to throw in Brent. And then Billy's like, yeah, like trust Shireen, like Brent needs to go because he's disloyal. And then Brent's like, you didn't expose your vote. And then Jacob just keeps whispering all this stuff into his ear while you got Brent yelling at him, Shireen yelling at him, Billy yelling at him, Jacob's putting his little input in. It's just like, I feel like I would go crazy if I was up there in that situation. Because I'm like, yo. And what this made me believe, this was my issue with the episode. I think battle matches, it doesn't really seem like moderated or structured. Like I felt like originally it looked like, all right, you like expose people's votes, then you say who you think you want to put in on the battle match, and then they get to defend themselves, and then you make your final decision. But it seemed like here a lot of people got to put their 2 cents in. You got to make your decision, and then it also seemed like at a moment, like Shireen was like, "You can reverse it. You can reverse it." It seemed like you can like make a decision and be like, "I changed my mind. Let me do that." Like, how many times can you change?
So usually, it's till you say final decision, and they say cut, and that's what it is. And you know, all of this origination honestly started with me and Ryan Taylor in the 6'5" Sequester mini, where I was like, "I'm dragging Ryan." It was the final 5. It was a weird final 3 situation. And then Ryan's like, no, don't drag me. Da, 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 da. No one else spoke up. I thought about it. I'm like, I shouldn't be bitter about the person who had to fight to stay alive. I should be bitter at the person who voted me out that I was aligned with. So then I'm like, Audrey, can I change my mind? Audrey's like, just make a decision. And I'm like, okay, I'm dragging Brandon, final decision. So that's where in minis, people got the opportunity to talk through. And so it seems like they've kind of adapted that format with battle matches, which I think has been really cool to see, just because like I think sometimes in the heat of the moment you're mad at one person, and so sometimes actually the whole dialogue, it does make things interesting. But I think in this episode it was excessive. I think
it was a lot
much. But I do like that there is fluidity in it, and that it has been brought to light in the live version. But I think though there was a little too much back and forth in this scenario. I don't know if part of that too was the fact that we had two people who had to pick two other people, and I think maybe that's why things took longer, because it was a double elimination and there was, a lot of complexity with this vote. But yeah, I think it got a little nasty and a little too much and a little confusing, probably for a lot of the viewers. But that's kind of where that whole being able to change minds kind of started, and that origination. So, but it's cool to see. But I think that in this episode, it wasn't as great to watch considering what took place.
No.
That I felt like this was a moment where having a vocal host like a Jeff Probst or a Julie Chen or an Arissa Cox would have actually been very helpful. Or at the very least, they could have done like an I Love Money situation where in the vault ceremony, you have 15 minutes to make your decision. And if you don't have your decision made by that point, then I don't know, maybe it gets made for you randomly or something like that. Like, I don't know but definitely there should have been some form of a time limit. Or
maybe like 5 minutes. You have like 5 minutes, or I guess since there's two of them, maybe like 7 or 8 to 10 minutes max. Because obviously it looks like it went longer than that, but they obviously edited. So that's where I'm like, maybe if they time it and it's like if you didn't make like a final decision, the last person you decided on maybe is the person that automatically goes in, or something like that.
That was agonizing. Like I was watching that like, I am so over this right now. Like, I can't watch any more of this. Like, are you going to do it? Are you not going to do it? Like, you've taken my heart and held on to the Korean thing. And I'm like, are you going to do it? Are you going to flip it? Like, just whatever you're going to do, just like cut me loose already. Like, I'm done. I don't want to be tied to this anymore, So it was a lot to watch.
Definitely, like, because I've been enjoying myself this season. Like, really, my only two biggest issues have just been that. Like, I think that the battle matches need to. I said the battle matches. The battle selections need to be at least timed or moderated or something like that. And then I think that a little bit of downtime needs to happen. Like, I get wanting to catch everything, and I still feel like you can catch everything. Like, maybe COVID, so you can't really handle that. I mean, you can't control that. But like in future seasons, maybe like if you can somehow get like a little bit more of like a casting crew to the point where like you have someone who can film like at nighttime, you know what I'm saying? Or like when they're not doing challenges. Cause like I really feel like a lot of the challenge time and battle selection time is spent like doing the small talk and all this stuff, when like that can be handled differently. And like, it can be handled.
We need patrons to, become patrons to Sequester on Patreon so that they can have the funding for that.
Yes.
Because I think that's obviously a huge barrier about why that, can't necessarily happen. So I understand why they do it, but then it is like they're trying to throw out everything because they don't have the opportunity to talk. And I think that's why a lot of us were shocked that we didn't see the luxury row conversation between Josh and Natalie sooner. We're like, why didn't it happen like an episode ago?
Yeah, true. All right, so Spencer, at the end of the whole deliberation after that crazy thing, he picks Shireen and she says that it was a strategic error. He says that he's been at the bottom and then he'll just have to battle his way to the end if that's what it comes down to. I don't hate the selection of Shireen for Spencer because, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, she was targeting him. I mean, I know she didn't do it this round, but she was targeting him. But that being said, I do think this round specifically, I would have picked Brendan. So that's just me.
But yeah, I just think that if he keeps talking about numbers and stuff like that, and if someone is literally, as the episode is titled, trying to give out an olive branch, and you are not taking that olive branch, when you know that Shireen is very connected in this game, I think that's kind of a failure, because if Shireen goes in this battle match, then it's like you don't have her. You only have Jacob, who has probably angered a lot of the house now and is a huge threat because he was voted out. So I just think that from a strategic sense, like, I get the idea of, like, I think Spencer likes to come for people who are targeting him publicly, but also, like, if people are actually willing to work with you, which you're complaining about how people don't want to work with you, then you should work with them. So that's just kind of, I think, my criticism there. But I understand it.
Oh yeah.
But also, it's like, I don't know. Honestly, if people are trying to work with you, then you should think about it.
Like I think his allies are really like manipulating him. Yeah. Because I think he really feels like he doesn't. He has this headspace where, like, he doesn't have anybody. So it seems like he's only just going to have to strictly take whatever Brendan and Jacob says, which I don't think is the right call, because you got Jacob, who even in the last round was using his name as like collateral damage. They were like, all right, spread this name, but if this person asks, say Spencer. So like Jacob's okay with your name being thrown around. And then you got Brendan, who you told who your tether partner is. He was actually the only person who you told who your tether partner is, at least as far as we saw. And then now everybody's like saying like Jacob's name. Is like, I will wonder who that came from. Like, you told Jacob, you know what I'm saying? And Jacob was the one who was putting out there. So, that being said, the challenge was over. It was a lucky numbers comp, and to make long story short, Jacob and Spencer beat Rachel and Shireen. I totally forgot. Before that even ended, Billy and Brent had another like back and forth. Because she was telling them to fight, get back in, and Brent was like, "Stop kissing the ass, Billy." And then they just got pissed. Billy started. She teared up a little bit, and then Brent's a mess. I love Brent. He's a mess. So he was like, "Girl, bye." She was like, "Boy, bye." It was funny.
It's like, woo.
So I think
would have been like, "You did not."
Yeah.
Girl, by me.
So they're going out there.
Butt, and then it's like, well, who did you vote for? Who did you vote for?
Yeah.
And I knew them say, well, I know why. We know now why Billy didn't say who she voted for.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I want to hear your loyalty talk. Like, were you loyal to Spencer? I don't know. That whole exchange was like very interesting. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that was just like not it.
It was very weird. There's times where where for me, Brent just speaks up when he absolutely does not need to, and I feel like sometimes he does it just because he wants the drama and he wants the show to be fun. But it's like, to be honest, he wasn't a highlight of the episode for me, or like really of the series. I think he's just like a Debbie kind of. And when I say a Debbie, like Debbie from Survivor, or like a Philip Shepard, he gives me very much that vibe. But yeah, it's just. I
mean, I guess the one good thing, like, I guess that he is doing is he's avoiding the battle match, and I think, considering everyone is mad at, a lot of people are mad at him and tired of him, and he's been a huge target. But we just keep seeing Spencer go and not Brent. So I guess Brent's doing something right. In comparison, but I don't know if I really cared for that exchange that, he had with Billy, to be honest. So
I don't think Brent is doing something right, and no shade, Brent. I don't think Brent's doing something right. I think Spencer's doing something wrong.
Yeah. I think, that makes, I think that's probably a more accurate way to put it.
I think the only thing I'll give a positive to the way he's playing so far, I think him constantly putting like paranoia into like other players' minds, and like they're causing them to like really like get off their like game.
Yeah.
Like I think the constant like picking like this name, it starts to make people really paranoid. So I will give him that positive.
Yeah, I've actually thought the flashbacks have been a little funny, where we keep seeing Brent is referring to somebody, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's working.
Now I don't know if like the jury's feeling Brent. Like I feel like Katie's not feeling him. I don't think Jordan's feeling him. So we'll see.
Spencer's best chance of winning probably will be against
Brent.
Yeah, that's, I think.
Even then, I still don't think so.
But I don't know.
I don't know.
We will never see a final 2 of those two, though, because of how the final 4 works. Nobody would ever allow that.
I'm not saying anything.
I'm not holding my breath.
I didn't think Hunter was
Really?
winning. I didn't think Hunter was winning last season, and he did it. So it was just like, I don't know.
You never know. You never know. Like, things could get twisted.
Like I follow the game by strategy, but like in group chats I've been in, there's actually people who follow it off of like edgics, and I've never been like an edgic person. But there's people out there who really think that like certain people who we can deem like they're not going to win, they really think they have a chance, So we'll see.
Yeah, people have been like, well, Hunter got the door slammed in his face in season 3, and Brendan got that, so like Brendan's probably. So people have theories, perceptions, ideas. I think it's really going to be interesting to see how it shapes out. It's really hard to predict Sequester though, because the game is ever changing and each round is different. With this round, it's like if it wasn't a double elimination, would we have seen Jacob go? Probably not. So I think that's why it's kind of unpredictable in some ways to realize who's going to be here at the end.
And I mean, the winners have been unpredictable players as well, like Kim Matina. I love Kim Matina, and she plays a very unpredictable game, as does Hunter. And I mean, Brent also does play an unpredictable game, so he may end up winning. I mean, the fact that he hasn't gone in the bottom yet, I'll give him credit. That is pretty amazing.
Exactly.
He came in this with one of the bigger targets. So
So lastly, we get a little snippet of what we're going to see in the next episode, which isn't until like next year on the 3rd. It's a jury buyback. And basically they have a bunch of balloons and they have to pop them and just find a ticket that says winner. And if you find that, you're back in the game. As a bonus, there's another ticket that says LOS. So maybe if you're lucky, you can find the LOS and the winner and you go in with both. So Jay West, Katie, Muna, Rachel, and Shireen compete. And it ends off of, it seems like the only 2 people who found something was Jay West and Muna. You see Jay West like, oh, and then you see Muna on the ground like crying like because she found something too. So I don't know if that's Jay West saying, oh, I found a winner, or, oh, I found an LOS, or Muna crying because she found the way back in. I feel like Muna wouldn't cry over an LOS. I feel like she would cry if she found a ticket to win. But then I don't know. Maybe the editing was put in a place where like she found an LOS.
She found an LOS.
And then she could be crying.
Because that could be like, she found the LOS and then she hears Jay West and it's like, yeah, I didn't get it. But I do wonder, like, if we're going with a cliffhanger of Jay West in the air like this and Muna crying, maybe it is Jay West is like yes but doesn't look and it's like, oh, it's an LOS and Muna crying because she got that ticket to get back in, which would be super exciting. I would love that so much. But
the editing style has definitely been very VH1, and I remember in VH1 they would always, especially with Flavor of Love, you would always have like who's a good example, like you would have Hottie would be like, oh, I just know I'm going to get like the clock from Flav. I already know he's gonna come give it to me. And then he calls out like Pumpkin's name, and then she's just like, what? Like even seeing in the battle matches, like every single time, like this episode, Rachel was like, I'm feeling pretty good. I found a 6. And then she goes home. So I feel like this was a fake out. And Jay West probably found the LOS. I mean, it would fit his character very much so. And I don't know, I didn't even realize that Muna said that she found something too. Like I just remember Katie said that she was crying, but
I had to go back. She picked something up.
Oh, she did. Okay, so I think Muna found it. Honestly, I'm hoping Muna found it. I really do. Like I want to see her go back in. I didn't feel like her elimination was justified, and I feel like she has more of a leg to stand on than Jay West does.
But all right, that's the episode. Quickly, we're going to edit our tier list from last week. So, oops. Hi, Robin. Basically, you got the jury down here. We don't know who returns, so I'm not even going to like include any of them for that. But we can just start from the top real quick. So, Jacob. So Jacob had an episode. He basically kind of reiterated that he's strong with Natalie, Marcelo, and Spencer. He kind of showed that he doesn't trust Brendan, that he's iffy about Billy, and then his feelings about Brent and Josh at the moment are kind of like unknown. So, how do you guys feel about him? I think he's in a place where he can honestly steamroll for a couple more rounds, but I don't know if this is going to equal longevity because I feel like people are coming from now. But he did kind of strengthen those bonds that he had before, and he's kind of like really locked those in publicly now that he's not like in a position to play like that sneaky game. So how do you guys feel about Jacob? Is he still A? Are we dropping him? Is he behind Brendan? What's up?
This one's confusing for me because I think he's still kind of in a good position because the people that are left. So, like, I thought he'd be bad just because of the Spencer thing from last week, but now him and Spencer have this bond of being dragged down together, and that might strengthen the relationship. And he's good with Marcelo. He's not good with Billy. Natalie and Josh, I think he can reel in. So, I think he's an A, but I don't think he's top A. Like
bottom A.
Yeah.
To be honest, like the way that I look at these rankings is how they played in the episode.
Yeah.
And I haven't really looked at like, oh, are they good for the next one or whatever. And his gameplay in this episode for me was D. He did so many things that I understand he's in a very good position right now, but there were so many things he did that just made zero sense. I mean, the situation with Billy, where he was like, "Billy, get out! I'm talking to Spencer." Aligning with Spencer and basically turning on his whole alliance. I mean, everyone also voted for him. He was expendable. They were willing to get rid of him.
You're right.
And the whole battle match situation too, with him puffing his chest and then picking Rachel too. There was just so many things he did this episode that were just not good gameplay. And do I think he has a chance going down the line? Absolutely. But as we've seen, people are willing to get rid of him. He's expendable. So it's questionable how good he actually is set up in the game.
I would say he's at least a B.
Yeah,
because of his performance in this episode. Especially I think with Shireen and with Rachel going, especially after Muna going, Billy, like, even though Billy's like working with Jacob and presumably Spencer, just publicly at least, I just feel like Billy probably is not going to feel great about Jacob. I just think that Jacob's perception socially is not as great. And if people are willing to vote Jacob to get Spencer out, and they see that he's closely aligned with Spencer, and a lot of them don't really care for Spencer, I just think his social capital is dropping a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, great. So Brendan, honestly, so he's kind of still in the same position as he was last time. But I think leaving this episode, people are now woke on what Brendan's doing. You got Natalie and Shireen both airing him out, and Jacob all saying that he's kind of playing this shady game. I feel like his game would be fine for longevity if he had like a ride or die ally, but I don't think he really has that right now. Like maybe Spencer, but like I think Spencer's starting to lean more towards the Jacobs now. So that being said, how you guys feel about Brendan's game? I personally, I think he should be dropped down too.
I agree. I was going to say that too.
I've been saying this, but until he gets that strong ally, I don't see a path for him. Like even if he was fortunate to make a Final Four somehow, I feel like he would be the ideal drag. Like I don't think anyone is looking out for Brendan.
No, not at all. I would give him a low B.
He gives me B energy.
Yeah, gives you B energy.
I don't know.
I forgot who said it though, that he would get dragged at 4.
I said that. Yeah.
Oh, you said that. I agree with you. I think
100% he'd be dragged at 4. He did nothing for anybody.
The only thing protecting him is his physical appearance, because there is that perception, where people are like, oh, if I bring him in a match that he'll beat me, even though more than likely that is not fucking true at all. But I think people will be afraid to vote him or drag him in just because they think he'll beat them in a match, even though no, probably not. He probably won't beat you.
So next we got Billy, who I think really is being targeted now by Jacob and Spencer. I think she's still and Natalie too, actually. Like I and Brent, oof. So I think that it's not looking good for Billy.
Billy, you're in trouble, girl.
Yeah. A lot of people are targeting Billy right now. I think the only people is like Marcelo, who's on her good side, but like Marcelo will throw her to the side if it came down to it.
Yeah.
Brendan doesn't really have a connection with her. I really think Billy has some major damage control to do next episode, or she is going to be in a very bad spot. But how do you guys feel about her?
High C energy.
Yeah, because Billy, a lot of Billy's, I guess social relationships are in the jury right now, and so that's kind of, I think, a huge damage like to her game. And since everyone is now like, well, we see that Billy's throwing votes all the time, we don't know like really where she stands. I think, yeah, she's giving that. It's. I feel like a lot of people are just like kind of dropping one, just because I think a lot of people's games were kind of burned by this episode.
Yeah, 100%. There was so many weird, bold moves and like panic decisions made in this episode. Like it's just, I don't even know what was going on. It was a mess. It was a mess.
Billy has just been so screwed by these battle matches because episode after episode, she's been playing really great when it comes to the voting. But then it's just she's lost all of her allies, and it's not her fault. It's just that it's fucking Spencer's fault.
Yeah, it's like because people come in like because a lot of them just played minis and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like minis are like they're the same but different in the sense of like strategy. So it's like I don't think anyone can prepare for having this like weird 2 games in one situation where you have a twist and then you have like this revealed thing and you have a battle back. Like it's a lot. So I think Billy, like minis wise, and a lot of them are very good at that. But then when it comes to the latter part, it's like, what do I do? So like her throwing the vote on herself, I think was just like a scramble of like, what the frig do I do here? I have no idea where I'm supposed to go, you know? So I think this live version is just like throwing a lot of people off, and I don't even know how myself would handle this because it's just a mess.
Yeah.
I love Billy though.
And I love Billy so much.
I hope she's able to recover, but
me too. I think she will. Depending on who comes back, if it's Jay West or Muna, I think either one would be more than willing to work with her.
Also, depending on the twist.
I'm just afraid for her because look at the trend for these battle match picks. That's why I'm really fearful for her.
Yeah.
I think if Spencer gets picked again to be eliminated, I think he's going to pick her to battle.
Yeah.
I think now that you actually say that, I really think that like Jacob's like strategy is like, let's keep voting Spencer in because he's not going to pull me to a battle match.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about that. Huh. All right. So next we got Marcelo, who nobody is really targeting. He right now is on almost everybody's good side. No one's really like suspecting him of much. Like I think people are like woke on like what his game is like, but like I think that there's so many other bigger like fish to fry that like they're just like, all right, whatever. So position wise, he's in a very good position. But I feel like right now he like you guys said, I don't think he's ever going to be in a spot where he can call like the shots almost, because I feel like if his allies weren't actively getting voted out, like I think Shireen and Katie, if they were both here or if they're fortunate enough to come back, maybe something can happen. But like he's bonded with like the Joshes, the Jacobs, the Nallys, the Brents. He's bonded with everybody at this point. But I just don't know, even if he were to make it to like the end of this point, I don't know if they would reward that type of gameplay, because it looks like they're going to reward someone who's playing hard. But as of this episode going into next episode, I think he's played really well. I personally would raise him up, but what do you guys feel?
No, I would. I'll give him a low B.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, because
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to quickly say that I honestly really loved the IOU move and was like, Billy, I'm going to vote for you. You voted for me the last time. I just think that was really smart for his game. And at the end of the day, since Jacob was up, Jacob's like, I don't need to worry about Marcelo. So I think it was just the perfect move for him. And he doesn't have any blood on his hands, and I think that he's in a pretty decent position in comparison to a lot of people in this game. And I don't really feel like even when Marcelo was technically like vulnerable because he was looking for the LOS around the house, like he really wasn't in danger at all. So I think that he is playing a really good social game right now, but it's just a question of how far he can make it with, and how strong are those bonds actually.
It's all about timing, honestly. Like if he lays low for a good enough time, then like final 5, final 6, or final, like whenever the right time is for him, he turns it on, and then like, all right, Jacob, you're out of here, or like Brendan, you're out of here, or Spencer. Like if he gets rid of the big people at the right time, starts winning. Like if he gets a battle match competition win against someone, like, I think people will start respecting his game. But it's all about timing with this type of strategy. So we'll see with him. Next is Josh, another episode where he's really just like flying under the radar. Like it seems like ever since he's gotten that LOS, he's not really been put in a position where he needs to be as urgent or play as hard. I think he's really relying on this LOS right now, and honestly playing very comfortably until the moment comes up where he needs to play hard comes up. I think he's good with Brent right now. He's semi good with Billy. I think he's pretty good with Spencer and Natalie now. Like when they have that conversation with Spencer with the luxury row. So I think right now he's trying to take this opportunity to really strengthen his bonds and try to get into some sort of foundation. So when the time comes where he does have to use an LOS, that he'll be covered once he's done with all that. But how do you guys feel about Josh?
I think he's good in that place. I'd actually put Natalie ahead of him. Like I think they're both equal for me, but I put Natalie ahead of him only because Natalie was actually like being active and like she's paying attention to the game. She threw out a name, like she was actively doing stuff. Josh was just kind of there, like following and playing low or whatever, where Natalie was like actively like, hey, did you notice that this player is like, he's in a good spot, you know what I mean? So but I would keep them both in that same place because like I don't know, there was no traction on Natalie's thing. If there was, then I would move her up because she made like a bold move, or she made a bold move happen there. But I think there, unless you guys think something else.
The one thing I did want to bring up about Josh that I think we didn't really touch on too much was I think that with the luxury row conversation, I actually thought it was very strategic for him to really realize that if we vote Jacob and Spencer goes, then we limit the amount of people knowing about luxury row. So I think that the vote itself, like, I mean, I know that I think in the end he did vote for Jacob. So I think that was really actually a smart move, because then it's like only one extra person is going to know about this room where you could potentially get an LOS rather than 2 other people. So I did just think that was something that was really, I just thought that the conversation he had with Natalie was a great one. And obviously he didn't tell about the LOS. He's like, oh yeah, I didn't get anything either. So, and I think I think he's slipping under the radar and playing a really good game. So I don't know. I mean, I think maybe slightly better than where he is. I did not necessarily like significantly higher in terms of like a letter, but I think that he's playing really well because he hasn't really been mentioned as a target since the first episode. So
true.
All right. So you got Natalie, where I think should be above Billy, and here's why. I think this episode it was 50-50. Like the negatives is now she's going to have a Brendan looking at her now. She's going to have Billy looking at her, who she probably thought that like they were cool again. Like she's going to have her looking at her now. But I feel like she really turned it on, and now like she really strengthened like with her allies. Like I think Spencer has a newfound respect for her after that whole battle match. I think her and Josh are now cool. I think Jacob really, like, that's probably like his number 1 or number 2 in his mind now. And with that comes Marcelo naturally. So I think position wise, especially with the amount of people left in the game, if whoever, depending on whoever comes back, if she survives about like 2 more rounds, I think she's good.
Yes.
I actually do agree with you.
I agree too.
I love Billy, but Billy this episode just got, and it's not Billy's fault. She just she's in a terrible position where Natalie actually was doing a lot this episode, and she's in a pretty good position next episode. And I don't think burning the bridge of Brent and Billy was really all that detrimental to her game, because she wasn't a priority in Billy's game anyway. Billy got rid of her in the second episode, and Brent will go with the wind. Like, Brent will do whatever, and honestly, Brent probably will get over it by the next episode.
Yeah.
So considering that, then, do you think that Billy's in a better position or playing better than Josh right now?
Ooh, that's hard.
So, like, I mean, like, I'm wondering if, like, Billy and Josh switched. You know what I'm saying?
I think Josh is playing better than her too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of more, I think, where.
Yeah.
You're right.
Because I really don't think anyone's coming actively for Josh right now.
No.
Like after Marcel, I think no one's coming after Josh. Like, I think he's the second best position person. Right now.
I think I like this positioning right now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like, I would keep Brent and Spencer there too. Like just to touch on their game. Like, I think Brent, honestly, like we said, he squeaks by every round. So like.
Oh no, I think Brent's good in C still. Like he was a little until the end. He was like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, his name didn't even get thrown at all this time around. He was only a consideration for a drag when Natalie kind of threw his name out, and then he kind of just like saved himself there. Yeah. So like, and the reason I put Natalie at the top of this list also is because she saved herself from being dragged into the battle round.
That's true.
With good logic. Exactly. That's why I care about Josh.
Like, I think Brent is just like Natalie, like 2 rounds away from like no one's really going to waste a week on him. Like, I think the only people like Billy might consider bringing Brendan. Brendan might consider bringing Brendan. Like, I think everyone else doesn't really care too much.
Yeah.
Brent just needs to learn to stay to himself and stay quiet. He needs to understand that sometimes it is okay to not be the center of attention or the center of the episode. Like, this episode was just not about him. This was just not around where you were the target, where you were the biggest player. Sometimes it's okay to just coast by an episode or two. And I think that if he can just take a breather and take a second and let the drama go on, then he'll be very successful in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And just shout out Sasha. Yeah, Billy lost most of her allies. So
yeah. That's why I feel like she's in a tough spot. It's, they're basically all in the jury, and so that's why I feel like Billy's unfortunately not in the greatest position right now. But I hope that
she is to win if all her allies are in the jury.
I couldn't.
I mean, yes, for votes, 100%. But but also for votes within the game to have people to keep you safe, that, I'm unsure at this point. So I'm just hopeful that, one of her allies does come back in so that she'll have like a solid, trustworthy ally to play the game with.
Yeah.
For Spencer, I will say there's a couple things keeping him from rising up right now. Obviously, he's honestly the biggest target right now for everybody. I think if anybody but like Katie and maybe Jordan, but obviously we already know that Muna and Jordan, one of them probably have it. So if Muna comes in, not good for Spencer. But if Jordan comes in, we'll see. I don't know. I think honestly, if Spencer can still survive with like Billy leaving. And shoot, it's going to be an uphill battle. If Spencer can survive a couple more weeks, I feel like people are going to want to naturally take him to the end, because I don't think anyone's going to really vote for him to win, honestly. I think his jury standing, other than like maybe Katie, isn't looking too good. But I do think he has the comp prowess to, I mean, we don't know what the comp's going to be, but like as far as history, what's so far with what we've seen, he's won the most comps. So we'll see. I don't know.
Those are easy comps. Like it's luck.
Yeah. I think Shireen laid it out very well. Mm-hmm. We know, and in front of half the cast who will probably be also on the jury.
Mm-hmm.
the social awareness, the social jury management, this game, he's not doing it, and that's what that's really what he needs to work on. And that's why I kind of agree that he's kind of at the bottom. I think if he wants to, rise further in terms of gameplay, you have to form bonds and allies with people, especially people who are willing to work with you. Isolating people is not going to help your game, and it's not going to help you get votes at the end, especially if people don't respect your game. Because right now it's just the only reason he's surviving is because he's winning these battle matches. It's not because he has true allies, and that's really what he needs to focus on getting moving forward.
Exactly.
And honestly, what I see for Spencer, I see two things. I see either number one, he gets dragged at Final Four and he's third place, because I think that whoever goes at Final Four will probably be a bigger target, because that's usually who goes. They usually take out one of the front runners to win. And then I think that person will be like, Spencer, you don't deserve to be in that final two. Fuck you. I'm dragging you with me. Peace out, Girl Scout. So if that doesn't happen, though, I could see the Final Four being pretty much all male, and maybe one of them actually liked Spencer, and I don't know, or maybe they just want Spencer to be a GOAT so the other person will win. That's another possibility, is that maybe let's say Brendan gets voted out at 4, and it's Josh, Jacob, and Spencer. And he's like, okay, I want Jacob to win, so I'm going to drag Josh with me so that Jacob can beat Spencer final 2. And I think that he'll get his ass whooped in final 2. And I don't see anybody voting for him. Anybody?
No.
Maybe Katie. That's about it.
Why? Oh, I forgot him and Katie are friends. I forgot about that.
619 bond.
So
let's not talk about 619.
I didn't watch that shit, so I can't tell.
Oh no, I'm just saying because I haven't watched any of it, so I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that's our show. Yeah. So that was episode 4. Geneva, what you getting into?
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I really enjoyed talking about the episode. It was a lot, and so it was a lot to unpack, but it's always great to analyze gameplay, especially I've played so many minis now, and so seeing the twist in the live version has been really exciting, because I'm like, oh well, I've played this twist before, so this was my experience. So that's been really exciting. You can follow me at Peace Love Jen on Twitter for more content. I also have a YouTube channel as well. And if you like College Survivor, I'm currently on season 2 of Survivor Syracuse Snakes and Secrets. We're currently in the merge episodes, and things are getting crazy. So be sure to tune into that. There are episodes usually every Thursday at 7, 6 Central, but this week it'll be Friday, Christmas special. So, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Chanel, how about you?
Oh man, I've been doing a lot of streaming lately. So same follow Coder Girl Chen. I play a lot of Among Us, Switch games. I'm gonna start getting to Stardew Valley again. Oh my God, God help me, I'm obsessed with that game. Getting into the Animal Crossing update, but every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Before Sequester. But I guess this weekend, since there's no Sequester, I'll play a little bit longer. And people are welcome to join the stream as long as they DM me, and they can come join and they're respectful. They can come in and join. So getting into a lot of streaming lately. So come hang. It's really, really fun time.
All right. And Dylan, how about you?
Well, all of my ats are at Dylan Does with a Z. What I do for the most part is I'm changing up what I do with my YouTube. I'm making a new promise to myself to try to upload 1 video a week, and I want to do rant videos because I used to do those when I was really young and people really liked them. And I usually recap other reality shows when they are airing, like Survivor and Big Brother. And I'm also trying to start streaming like Chanel does. And yeah, I also talk shit on Twitter, so you can find me Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. All are at Dylan Does with a Z.
All right. And yeah, you know what I do. Silent Sequester. We're lit. Like they said, next episode won't be till next year. So we are actually gonna have a hiatus for a week. So I don't know. I'll try to figure something out. If I can interview someone or something this weekend, we'll see what's going on. But Yeah. Until then, I will see you guys later, and everyone have a good day. Bye.
Happy holidays. Happy New
Bye.
Year.